Some of my favorite shitter reading of all time has come on the website Monster Trucks Wiki, and as you'd imagine, it's just a wiki dedicated to the sport of monster truck racing with contributions by just a ton of superfans. To put this as nicely as I can, monster truck racing by default attracts a very hardcore subset of turbo nerds. So you can only imagine how detailed and extensive this wiki is compared to like other fandom wikis. Buried pretty deep in this wiki is one of the dumbest and wildest professional auto racing stories I think I've ever come across. And it's all just sitting out there, out in the open. A female motocross rider here in Canada misled people about her motocross career, had behavioral issues that were pretty well documented online, applied as a driver for Monster Jam, somehow managed to hide all of this during the applicant screening process, got hired by Monster Jam, and then proceeded to get arrested for cocaine possession during the middle of an event. While she's long gone from Monster Jam and is racing electric scooters now, for a period of time, Amy Howd almost became Monster Jam's biggest PR nightmare. This story gets progressively dumber, which is why I'm going to tell it backwards. So let's start with Amy Howd, the monster truck driver. So we'll go over to the page about her on Monster Truck Wiki. She was under contract with Monster Jam beginning in 2017, but randomly retired just 2.5 years later at the midway point of the 2019 season. Now, part of her bio states that, hey, she did get injured in 2019 because Monster Jam drivers at the arena level are asked to also ride quads and drive UTVs in events. It's part of the show. But she did make a full recovery, and the sudden retirement is more likely related to trouble with the law. So, looking up the season she competed in on Monster Truck Wiki, the 2019 Triple Threat Series, inside the trivia section, it's like, yeah, Amy had a really bad wreck on an ATV and had to get stretchered off, but she recovered and she was fine. She was supposed to return for a show in Cleveland, Ohio, but was arrested for cocaine possession, and that someone else just filled in for the rest of the season. Now, on the surface, not that big of a story. Guys get busted with coke all the time, especially professional athletes. Like, it's something you just have to realize that people with money do cocaine, and sometimes they get caught, and sometimes they get in a lot of shit and lose their jobs. Here's where it gets different. Go to the talk page on Amy Howd's driver bio. Apparently Danny Mass of Mass Media, who is by trade a monster truck photographer, and you can go check out his work on Facebook, confirmed that she was arrested right after the pit party and right before the event was about to start. So this might be the first time ever in professional auto racing that a driver got arrested and booted out of the series during the pre-race autograph session. She had apparently smuggled cocaine into the arena, got caught, was escorted out of the building minutes before the trucks were set to fire, and put into the back of a squad car. I was actually able to find footage of this exact event on YouTube, and you can clearly see during truck intros, there are only 7 trucks on the arena floor, even though Amy Howd is advertised as being the 8th truck on the bill. And when they show the event standings at the end of the video, it's not Amy Howd and Zombie, they've already changed it to Macy Nichter. So, pretty uncharted territory already. I've never seen any professional driver get arrested minutes before taking the green flag. But as you can probably tell from the video length, we're not actually done yet. This girl should have actually never been a Monster Jam driver to begin with. This story is not about Amy Howd. This is about Monster Jam being complete fucking idiots. I did what I thought pretty much any normal person would do and typed Amy's name into Google. I didn't get a lot of career statistics or like a career timeline about her that kind of shows that, hey, she was this amateur motocross rider who got recruited into Monster Jam. Instead, I got 5 or 6 articles about her on thedirty.com. The articles were written several years before she got into Monster Jam, and you can probably guess what's in them. She was a regular figure in Winnipeg's nightlife scene, and most people just said to stay away from her. There's a limited list of reasons why that might be, so just fill in the blanks. They also noticed that she was really narcissistic and histrionic about her motocross career, yet most of the comments primarily focus on things she may or may not have put inside her body. But I want to highlight this one particular comment written on November 18th, 2011, almost a decade before she joined Monster Jam. Some guy who claimed to be part of the same motocross scene as her says that every year she became more and more degenerate to the point where she was missing entire race days because she was too fucked up on magic mushrooms. And he felt that she was just not taking her career seriously at all and was piggybacking off her dad's reputation. This is some elite level foreshadowing right here. This guy basically spelled out how her Monster Jam career would go 6 years before she was hired by Monster Jam. What's really sad to think about though, consider how many amateur drivers around North America apply to drive for Monster Jam each season. One year, they got turned down in favor of a girl who was appearing regularly on gossip sites where people were discussing her pretty obvious drug problem and home wrecking tendencies. And in the end, Monster Jam had to get rid of her anyway due to the same personal conduct issues that were being discussed publicly for the better part of a decade. So the question then becomes, why did Monster Jam hire this girl? And I can only respond with, I don't know. On the surface and away from all the drama we've just outlined, she is a somewhat accomplished Canadian female motocross rider. This might not be true. A comment on one of the Dirty articles about her claims that Amy didn't really have any sort of motocross career at all and was just a giant bullshit artist. She would supposedly brag to anyone who would listen, including the press, about attending major motocross events in North America or being invited to MXGP events over in Europe. But in reality, she was only doing a handful of practice laps before parking the bike for the rest of the weekend. This comment is extremely based because he makes note of the exact events Amy would brag about attending, and we can go look up the results of those for ourselves to see if this guy's claim that, hey, she was a bullshit artist are true. And this guy's not lying. I found the 2010 MXGP France results online. I guess they just have a web portal where you can sort by year. And yeah, this random comment on the Dirty's legit. Amy Howard really did fly all the way to France to run a total of 4 practice laps, 46 seconds off pace. Her name never appears in the heat races or the main events. In a 2014 charity race called Everts and Friends, which this guy also mentions, Speed Hive here says a lot. She's dead last, several laps down, and 10 seconds slower than the next fastest rider. I shouldn't have to say this because most of the people watching my videos are racing fans by default, but this is not a motocross career. This is not a racing career. This is not anything. At most, it's histrionic attention seeking. Monster Jam really should have caught this, and I really don't understand how they didn't because they run a pretty tight ship. She failed all of the background checks. She embellished basically her entire motocross career to the point where everyone in the city seemed to know it was fake. She was constantly talked about on gossip sites for all the wrong reasons, and those who knew her said, yeah, this girl's got a drug problem. A clothing store at the mall would not have interviewed this girl. They would have done a quick Google search of her name and been like, yeah, we don't need that drama here. Yet she somehow went out and became a professional race car driver, driving for one of the biggest racing series in the world. A series known for its squeaky clean image and billing as family entertainment. And within 2 seasons or so, it ended exactly as predicted and foreshadowed a decade earlier. And not by like a motorsports writer, but by some random retard on the Dirty who was probably high out of his mind. So, what's this girl up to now? She is an e-scooter rider and conducts interviews where she talks about the hardest thing in her career being dealing with the gossip and rumors and online bullying. Remember, kids, Tia Norfleet was just the blueprint. Anyways, this one comment says that Amy had a bunch of friends in Winnipeg who engaged in roughly the same behavior. I wonder who this Amber the stock car racer refers to.
This is definitely not what I expected. I'm just gonna try to be really cautious, but try to enjoy it.
Oh no.